Hey everybody, I'm Chris and this is my channel Chesapeake Chris. Thanks for stopping by. This week's video is going to be part 2 of hacks and modifications I did to my kayak. Got a lot of good things on this week's video for you. A lot of them are hacks. I think you're probably going to want to see all these, so you better stick around. I just want to mention one thing real quick. I believe in giving credit where credit is due. Many of the ideas I got for doing modifications to my kayak, I got from other YouTube videos. There's one channel in particular that I got quite a few ideas from, and I just wanted to mention it. I hope the gentleman doesn't mind me mentioning his channel on my channel. But the name of his YouTube channel is Kayak Hacks Fishing. He's got a wonderful channel. He's been doing it for years. He's got a lot of good videos on there. I guarantee he's got some videos on there that you will like and use. Look him up. He's got some good information. So let's get started. And the paddle that I use, that orange paddle on the left, is not the paddle that came with the kayak. There is the paddle that came with the kayak. And it is a cheap paddle. And I always wondered, what do they mean? What do people mean when they say it's a cheap paddle? Well, let me show you something here. This is the paddle came with it. If I put it on the ground and push just a little bit, I don't know if you can see. See how that paddle flexes so easily? That's a pretty cheap, weak paddle. Now, the paddle I got, when I push down, I can't hardly get it to flex. That's a really strong paddle. It's lightweight. It's actually adjustable, so I can adjust the length of it. And because it is so lightweight and strong, that's a good paddle if you're out there and it's really windy and you're really having to paddle hard to get somewhere. You can get a lot more power out of each paddle stroke with a good paddle like that that's not near as flimsy as the one that came with it. So once again, I highly recommend get a decent paddle, one that's strong and lightweight.
I would definitely choose the orange paddle if I had my choice. I guess that would make it a doggy paddle.
And on this side is where I installed my rod holder for when I get a fish in the kayak. Makes it a lot easier to take care of the fish if he slips out of my hands. He's right there in front of me. He hangs right in front of me. My rod doesn't go flying into the water. And I covered that on a previous video about my 5 favorite hacks and modifications I did to my kayak. So that's all we're going to say about that for right now. And also on this side of my kayak, I have the rod holder that came with it. This device rail or track came with the kayak already installed. And this rod holder came with it. It's actually a pretty good rod holder. It's pretty adjustable this way, you know, and you can also pull it up a little bit and rotate it, so you can rotate it where you want it to go. The only problem is it wasn't good for holding the short handles of my ultralight rods. The rod handle wasn't that long, so once again I came up with a way to fix that. I took I think it's a 1-inch T PVC, and I painted it black, and I secured it right into that rod holder with a couple little screws, one on this side and one on the other side. And now when I stick my rod in this holder, you can see the handle doesn't go back very far, but now that 1-inch T catches the handle of my rod. And I flip that over. Now I'm good to go. I don't have to worry about flipping out of there. But that handle only comes to about here. So if I didn't have that T in there, it wouldn't come back to this part. Once again, it's a pretty easy little hack I made so that it will accommodate my short-handled ultralight fishing rods. And on this side is where I store my telescopic paddle, which I covered in my previous video. Store's right there next to my seat. I also have a waterproof case from my cell phone that I bought off Amazon. It's actually attached to my seat, a little bit of paracord. I put one of those foam practice golf balls on it just in case it would come off if it would end up in the water. Hopefully it'll float. But a waterproof case for my cell phone works very well. And I also mounted a little round magnet right there under my seat with marine grade goop. It's getting all rusty, but I just keep my knife there. It keeps my knife in place. That's a knife I use to cut bait. And I have my line snips here. I just use some Velcro to attach them right there so they're easily accessible but out of the way. And I went to the dollar store, bought this cheap dollar store plastic tray. I attached it to the top of my hatch lid with Velcro tape, and then I just mounted a little piece of masonite board in here. You could use plastic, whatever, but I mounted it in here and I siliconed it in, and that way that gives me a good surface there to cut bait on. So I can cut bait on this, and then I can put stuff in this part so it doesn't go flying around. Now on the other side of my kayak, this came with a device rail mounted here too. I made this rod holder out of 1-inch PVC. It actually works pretty well. I notched it there so that my rod can't come flying out of it. It's just made with a 45 and a T. And this joint right here, I did not glue, so it will actually turn. I can turn it for when I want to troll, or I can put it straight ahead. It actually works out pretty good. I painted it. I made this little piece here. Once again, this is just 3/4 inch PVC. I put a piece of pool noodle on it, and it's a good place to hang lures. If you're changing lures a lot when you're out fishing, it keeps them out of the way, keeps you from getting hooked. Once again, I did not glue this joint, so you can spin it whichever direction you want. Now, to make these various PVC accessories that attach to these rails, it's pretty easy to do. You can either buy just a 3/4 inch PVC glue plug or a 3/4 inch PVC threaded plug, and you drill a hole in the end of it, and then you buy you get some of those T-track bolts, or you can actually use, believe it or not, toilet flange bolts that they sell anywhere to hold down toilets. And you just cut them off the length. You drill a 1/4 inch hole in the end of that, you put the bolt through it, you put a nut on it, you tighten it down, and it secures it to the track really good. I mean, it won't go hardly anywhere. And then if it's a glue one, you can just slip something on it like that. If it's a threaded one, you just get yourself a 3/4 inch female pipe thread to 3/4 inch glue adapter. That's what this is. You screw that down on there, and then you're good to go. You can do whatever you want from that point. Like I say, you can, if you don't glue that fitting there like I didn't, see how that comes right out? That way it stays in there, but it'll turn. These adapters are really easy to make. I bought some plastic floatable pliers. They actually are supposed to float, but I just attach them here with a piece of that Velcro. I got a short little leash on them. And then here on the handle is where I attach my fish grippers. They got a short little leash on them in case any of them would fall in. Then I mounted this little pouch here with Velcro tape also. And in that pouch is where I keep my hook remover. I got a decent pair of hemostats for taking hooks out. I can stick other stuff in there if I want, but all that stuff is right there, easy to access. And then of course, I also have, like I showed in the last video, my little tackle box, my little box that I keep most of my highly used stuff in. And that slides right under my seat. Now, one thing I want to mention about using this Velcro tape to attach this stuff is if you're out fishing in the hot sun, when that stuff gets warm, sometimes the glue kind of doesn't work real well. It kind of lets loose. I'm looking for an alternative for that. If anybody has any suggestions, please feel free to leave them in the comments. I'll greatly appreciate it. And then on this side, I mounted my anchor trolley I got a video link in the description of the proper way to install one. And as I showed in a previous video, I do have a quick release on mine. I mounted this little plastic box here, once again with Velcro. I just keep odds and ends in it. I got a little pouch here next to my seat on this side that I keep some stuff in. You know, stuff I use a lot, like some gulp baits and things of that nature. And then moving back here, this PVC piece here is for my anchor. And it's actually, once again, it's just one of them adapters. I put a T on it, I put a 90 in a cap, and I can hang my anchor on it. And I can hang my anchor on it and keep it in the boat with the float like that. Or I didn't glue this particular joint here so it'll turn. Or I can turn it out this way, and then my anchor, my float, and my rope hangs out over the side of the kayak. And that's usually how I keep it when I'm using my anchor a lot. That way I put little pieces of paracord on here so I can hang these things. But yeah, I just pull it off and I can drop my anchor. This is hard to do with one hand. I can drop my anchor. It's got a float on it. I got my, and then when I'm done, I can just hang my anchor back on there. I can pull my cord reel up there and hang it. And it keeps it offside of my kayak so that I don't get a lot of water dripping in my kayak. And it's easier to deploy. Like I say, I do this when I'm out on the water, using my anchor a lot. And that finishes up part 2 of the hacks and modifications I did to my kayak. The next video will be part 3 of kayak hacks and modifications, things I did to my kayak to make fishing easier and more enjoyable. There's a lot of good information on that next video. We're going to cover things like my outrigger pontoons, my seat hack and mods, my milk crate, my scupper plugs, my anchor setup. A lot of good information, so you're going to want to watch the next video. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. You guys know the drill. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up, subscribe so you get notified for future videos when I release them, share this video, and I'll see you on the next video.